Oops.
Social Capital for the Good by Jay Swartfield. Before we begin, it is important to know what social capital is. Social capital is effective and has allowed ancient and modern societies to thrive. Without it, communities may suffer and unfortunately could not survive. According to Will Kitten, an article writer for Investopedia, claims the term social capital refers to a positive product of human interaction. The positive outcomes may be tangible or intangible and may include favors, useful information, innovative ideas, and future opportunities. Social capital is not held by an individual, but instead appears in the potential between social network connections and between individuals. End quote. He continues to say how social capital helps communities to work efficiently together towards a commonly shared achievement, and that it functions by people in the group trusting each other and having similar cultures and words. Or in other words, how social capital has good roles through connections. However, when traumatic events such as the Haiti earthquake in 2010 and COVID-19 come around, social capital is put to the test, but initially is a positive impact. This leads me to my claim that social capital is important during traumatic times where resilience is needed. According to Elaine C. Flores, a medical doctor, and her colleagues show, at the individual level, social capital may provide individuals with resources such as a sense of belonging, purpose, security, self-esteem, and equity to cope with adverse circumstances. These resources, which are beneficial psychological states, may result in greater motivation for self-care, lower exposure to stressors, improved coping mechanisms, and reduced perceived impact of stressful events. Not only does Elaine show that social capital benefits the aftermath of trauma, but also the various ways that it helps do so, making social capital by far very detrimental in the midst of trauma. Social capital's greatness was shown during the Haiti earthquake in 2010. Gillette Rahil, who has a PhD, and her team of many colleagues say, the study highlighted that social capital in the Haitian context is a culturally based connection between a structural aspect of social capital that participants described as Moun Pa, literally person of mind, figuratively, person who is a part of my inner circle, and an attitudinal trust component of social capital called Conifans, literally trust, end quote. They continue to say how the contributors in this experiment recollected that people that are able to get supplies would share them among the people in their communities. This just shows the good impact social capital has after such a drastic earthquake. Adding on to the Haiti earthquake in 2010, COVID-19 was also a time where social capital was needed, and it did well. Christos A. Makridis, a part of the W.P. Carey School of Business at ASU, and his fellow expert Carrie Wu talk about how social capital could reduce COVID-19 from spreading through common interests and the act of trusting each other. Makridis and his colleagues also show that communities consisting of high social capital are prone to having better hygiene and leadership in the act of trusting and caring. In a time of crisis, especially in the midst of a worldwide lockdown, social capital is by far something you need to help sustain a community. On the other hand, many believe that social capital is not needed or does well during traumatic events. According to Tristan Claridge, social capital does not always have benefits to all people, but rather to some groups or communities, or even just a single person. And it only depends on the actions and efficiency of the communities themselves. He claims that social capital is not important for everyone, but only for some groups. He continues to say later in the article that social capital is also not affected by events. Rebuttal. While the opinions of Claridge and many other peer-reviewed articles may not be wrong, saying social capital is bad and is not good for society, I believe, they still do not have enough evidence, making social capital very helpful and needed. Additionally, my claim is backed up by Tim Arwin, a part of the Department of Research and Development in DMN, and his fellow team of researchers say, individual-oriented stress-reducing interventions that use appraisal processes, social support, and coping as starting points could be more effective by taking into account the subjective experience of the social context in terms of trust and feelings of mutual support and reciprocity in a community. Findings indicate that affected people may especially benefit from a combination of individual stress-reducing interventions and psychosocial interventions that foster cognitive social capital. This is why I stand true to my claim. In conclusion, social capital is by far needed in the everyday lives of our communities, therefore allowing the social aspect to thrive, leading to a successful city. According to Francis Fukuyama, an American political scientist, says, it's difficult for people to trust those outside of their narrow circles. Strangers fall into a different category than kin, or a lower standard of moral behavior applies when one becomes, for example, a public official. This provides cultural reinforcement for corruption in such societies one feels entitled to steer on behalf of one's family. Just like Francis says above, how it can be difficult to trust or function with people outside your narrow circle, social capital is still very important in communities in order to thrive. This just shows that social capital is by far needed, making it to be very useful during times of traumas, including the COVID-19 pandemic and the Haiti earthquake in 2010.
Terrific, thanks Chase. I got 2 questions for you and then we'll wrap this up. So for the first one, tell us about some of the preliminary information you gathered that got you on this topic to begin with.
So in the beginning, when we read the stimulus articles, number 5 really stuck out to me about the Haiti earthquake. And when I was scrolling through the article, I saw this little section on social capital. And it really just piqued my interest. And I thought this would be a cool topic to discuss. So I started the research on it. And it ended up becoming a very good one.
Okay, excellent. And then as a follow-up to that, what additional questions emerged from your research, and are these important questions in general?
So some of the questions that emerged from my research are like how social capital can compare to negative resilience or positive resilience. And I just felt it'd be a stronger argument if it based more off of like traumas and kept it on the same task of traumas rather than going to even more parts of social capital.